So everybody says you can't be afraid of having the tough conversations, but no one tells you how to have them. This is my favorite three-part framework for how to deal with really any tough conversation that you're going to have in your life. You can use it with clients, you can use it with your team, and yes, if you're really sneaky about it, you can use it personally. Now, this is stolen from the book Crucial Conversations, the original concept. I've kind of made it my own. I think there's some stuff that is not in the book, but I like to call this the crucial conversation method to give credit where credit's due. So there are three crucial steps to the crucial conversation method. The first one we have to do is open the other person's ear. The second thing we're going to do is state the facts. And the third thing we're going to do, and this is where we differ from the book a little bit, we can either open the door or state our wants. Again, this is highly useful in any tough conversation that you're going to have really in your life. I've used it with clients. I've used it with team members. I haven't often used it personally. I feel like my wife's too smart for that, but let's dive into it. So the first step we've got to do with this is open the ear of the person on the other side. And let's think about, I like to use the power of inversion. Thank you, Charlie Munger, for this. Let's think about getting into a tough conversation where we don't open the ear, where we just get into, again, we've got, say, three scenarios, right? We've got clients, we've got team, and we've got other. So we'll start with clients. For me, the example that jumps out is, this is years ago in the gym. I was already running it remotely. The gym was in Minnesota. I had already moved back to Texas. And one of my team members reaches out and says, hey, we had this situation with a client. She had her kids running around. We were running in and out of the gym, and their kid locked the door that clients were jogging out of. And one of our clients went to go jog out and open the door. She was already jogging, hit the door because it was locked. She didn't expect it to be locked, and chipped a tooth. This is a big freaking deal. You could argue it would have been somewhat appropriate for me, or at least understandable of me, to reach out to the client and be like, hey client, what the fuck? We've got the spot for the kids to sit. We've told you that they can sit up in front on the iPads. What are you going to do about this, you idiotic, terrible parenting self, you? That probably wouldn't have gone over very well, right? So if we use that as the scenario, if we just jump into the negative or the situation, hey team member, you've been late, this has to get fixed, or you haven't been putting XYZ energy into sessions, this is terrible, you suck. If we just jump to the negative situation, the person on the other side is going to move to defensiveness first, which isn't good, right? It doesn't give us the highest chance of a positive outcome, which is the entire goal of using this crucial conversation method in the first place. So what does good look like in the crucial conversation method? Well, we start with opening the ear, opening the other person to the idea of the conversation by stating the common ground. Hopefully you can read that. Now, what you want to do with the common ground, the rule here is to find the deepest, the highest common denominator, if you will, between you and the other individual. So if you have nothing in common with the person, you would still start with opening the ear and saying, hey, friend, we can both agree that neither one of us wants to die brutally in a freaking house fire or have our eyeballs gouged out with rusty forks. We can both agree to that, can't we? Just having something that you guys agree on, leading the conversation with something that you and the other party agree on, starts the conversation off on a better foot and gets the other person more receptive to whatever points you are going to make later. So we start with the common ground. If you got nothing in common, you do what I just said. If you have more in common, you're going to try to find the most impactful thing that you two agree on. With the client, it may be, hey, we can both agree that we want you to have a great, safe place to train, get great results. We can both agree to that, can't we? You're going to use things that make sense based on your relationships with any of the other parties or examples as well, but we lead with the common ground and we do that first, because the reason we're having a crucial conversation in the first place is typically that we have something that is not going the way we want, some sort of behavior or actions or what have you that we want to change, and the best way for us to facilitate said change is to get the common ground down first. So we want that first and foremost. Now, the second step in the crucial conversation method is to state the facts. And that is just the facts, man. We don't get into the emotions. We don't get into how it makes you feel. We don't get into how they're being a piece of shit because of this. We literally just state the facts around the situation first and foremost. So to go back to the client, and we'll do I don't know how to draw a tooth. Does that look like a tooth to you guys? The client chipped tooth example. Wow, kindergarten level graphics, as always, my friends. If we go back to the client tooth example, the facts would not be, you don't know how to be a stinking parent. You have no business having a kid in the gym, et cetera, et cetera. No, it would be something along the lines of, and this is how the conversation went. Hey, Sally, I love how Sally's always my generic client name. Hey, Sally, so I know when you first signed up, you asked about whether or not your kids could come to the gym. We had a conversation about that where the kids could absolutely come to the gym if they stay in the designated area for the kids. We had a spot with couches where kids could sit on their iPads or do whatever, do homework, all that stuff. On Thursday, June 22nd, your kiddo came in, was running around the gym. Our coach had a conversation with you about that at that time. And then on Friday, when you came in, kid was running around during sessions, goes and locks one of the doors that clients are running in and out of, and another client ran into said door and chipped her tooth. Notice there's no commentary there. There's no accusation of character. There's really nothing there but the facts. Again, we want to make sure that we are starting with A, opening the ear of the person on the other side, and then B, stating things that are frankly irrefutable. Okay? Just pure factual information that cannot be refuted. That's what irrefutable means, kids. Why? Because this gives us the best chance of having a positive outcome and not having the person get super defensive when we move to the next step. And this is where I'm pretty sure I defer from the book a little bit, because I believe the book method of the crucial conversation process is to just move into stating your wants. So the normal process would be common ground, state the facts, state your wants. I like that, and I think it can work, and there are situations where you should just go with the book method. But my favorite method for utilizing this is to open the door with the move, go into the conversation prepared to state what your wants are after the fact. What this gives us are two paths when we open the door. What that means is once we've gone through the process, we've stated the common ground and opened the ear of the person on the other side. We've stated the facts unemotionally, gone through all of the nitty-gritty details of what has happened in regards to this situation. Then what we do is we can open the door and say something along the lines of, so what do you think we should do here? What that does, and this is my favorite part about it, is it gives the person on the other side of the table the chance to be the asshole so you don't have to play that card. The truth is, in any relationship, you have a limited number. I should almost do I wish I had a brown marker so I could do a nice chocolate starfish on here. But just to make sure that you remember the concept, these are your asshole cards. And every relationship in your life, you have a limited number of asshole cards that you can play before the person decides that they're going to leave the relationship, because any sane person is going to leave a relationship if you're being an asshole constantly and there's no positive non-asshole cards to balance out the other side. So any chance that we have to have somebody else burn the asshole card on their own behalf, as opposed to having us use ours, that feels like a really good positive thing to me. So we open the door, and what happens is either they give you what you want, right? They give you a solution that you are comfortable with, or they don't. The nice thing with opening the door and letting them be their own asshole, if you will, is sometimes they'll come up with a solution that is even better than what you would have come up with, right? And again, in this context of the client conversation with the tooth that we've so poorly drawn, look, we've stated the common ground. We want a safe place for you to train, get great results, all those fun things. We can both agree to that, can't we? Yes. Facts, blah, blah, blah. On this date, this happened. On this date, this happened. The client chips the tooth. Next, we go to opening the door. So what do you think we should do here? What do you think the solution is? That client may say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Look, I've already reached out to the client that chipped her tooth. I'm going to pay for the dental stuff. And my husband agreed he's going to take the kiddo when I come to the gym, or I'm going to come to a different session where we have childcare. I'm so sorry about this. You guys don't deserve this. I'm sorry for all the stress it's caused, blah, 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 blah. I love what you guys are doing. Can I give you a testimonial or a 5-star review or something to make you feel better about this? Any number of potential positive things can happen, in which case you just move forward, with a solution. It's thumbs up. I wish I could do a good thumbs up. That's my thumbs up, guys. I'm really good at drawing. I did take an art class in college. You can't tell here. Now, what happens if we go the other way, right? If they say, well, I don't know, that sounds like a you problem. It's my kid, so you can kick rocks. Well, we have to be prepared with what our wants are in any of these crucial conversations, right? Great preparation is arguably the biggest determining factor in having positive outcomes in these tough conversations that you're going to have in your life. And so we want to make sure we're prepared with what our wants are. Now, for this client scenario for us, if they were not willing to leave the kid at home or whatever else, we were going to terminate the person's membership, refund the prorated portion, and move on, right? Try to be on the up and up, try to be understanding, if you will, but we were absolutely going to have to terminate the relationship just frankly because of the liability and the lack of adhering to the rules. It was putting the safety of everyone else in the gym at risk in this situation. So we want to be prepared with our wants. In our case, we were fortunate enough for the client to have a solution that worked. I honestly don't remember what it was, but we never had an issue again, and so we were good to go. In other cases, you state your wants, and then you basically monitor the progress, right? Monitor the situation from there. So to tie it all together for you guys with another example of a team member situation, we're going to start with a common ground. Again, you're going to utilize whatever common ground makes sense for you in that relationship with said team member. So, hey, Trainer Jimmy, like we can both agree that we want you to have a great career here, make lots of money, progress, all those fun things. Like we can agree to that, can't we? Well, yeah, sure, boss. All right, I got you. Okay, great. So here are the facts, right? Insert whatever the facts are. So I had one of these conversations ages ago that was a trainer was late. He had not been late for years up to that point, training early sessions, everything else. And then he was late twice in a period of 2 or 3 weeks. So it was, hey, trainer, here's the issue, right? I'm having clients complain about this. This morning you were late again. You were late 2 weeks ago on XYZ for XYZ session, whatever it was. We stated the facts. We didn't get emotional about it. We didn't accuse him of being a piece of shit, any of those things. We just stated the facts, and then we opened the door. So what do you think we should do here? Right? Now, again, that's where the fork in the road occurs of the conversation. It's really the first time that we've invited that person into the conversation in any sort of meaningful way. By opening the door, we give them the chance to be an asshole to themselves. And if they have a solution that we are okay with, this gives you the opportunity or gives you the chance to have the other person come up with a solution that's better than what you would have come up with. It gives them the opportunity to be hard on themselves and come up with a solution that's great for both parties. If they don't do that, then you state your wants. Now, your wants may mean termination. It may mean moving into a performance improvement plan type conversation. It may mean any number of things. You come prepared with what your wants are and be ready once you've opened the door to move it into either one of those scenarios. Now, situations where you may want to skip the door method and move directly into the wants would be if you've got a team member with repeated issues and this needs to be a performance improvement conversation. Great. We can move through this method. I think it's a great method to have these types of conversations, right? Even though we're moving into a performance improvement plan, real formal, all those fun things, this framework is a great way to get that person more receptive to the performance improvement plan conversation. We just wouldn't necessarily open the door if we know this is a conversation we need to have, if we know this is the path that the conversation needs to go down. And then when we get to the wants, we would just move into that very direct performance improvement conversation, which may include, again, things like, here's where we're at, right? Based on the facts, we need to see improvement in order for us to continue our business relationship here. We're going to be putting you on a 30, 60, 90-day performance improvement plan. Here are the variables that we need to see improved over that time period for you to keep your position. Again, I'm rooting for you, da-da-da-da-da. I believe you can do this, but let's go through each thing line by line and this is like a side conversation, probably another video to do, like how to do PIPs, how to do performance improvement plans, but you're going to go through each line item. So I've done some PIPs in my time and I've done some well, and I started to learn to get them better later on. But the way that they've been most effective for me is having all of the line items for that performance improvement plan conversation laid out in detail. And we go through each line item with the team member and say, does this make sense? Like, do we understand exactly what this means to you, right? So it might be, for us, it could be, being super responsive on Slack, or, updating ads X number of times per week, or doing XYZ things for clients, onboarding, whatever the things are, whatever the variables are for you and your business. And it would be, are we clear on what responding to all client messages within 2 hours means? Does that make sense? Yes. Does that feel like something we can commit to and make a part of your job here? So yes, it does. Okay, great. So we're going to check the box there, or initial there, whatever you're going to do. You move through that for each of the steps in the performance improvement plan conversation that you're going to have. And then obviously overview everything, have them sign it. What I like to do, just to tangent a bit on PIPs, I like to tell people, look, I believe in you. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't. I know some people talk about PIPs as like, this is a death sentence. That's not how we think about things at this company. We've had multiple people come out of PIPs and be better on the other side that are still with us years later. So I believe in you. I'm rooting for you, but these are things that we need to have done, that we need to see improvement on if we're going to continue to have a business relationship here. That good? Any questions for me, etc.? And you're good to go. So you're going to have tough conversations. I'm not going to give you the examples on hubby-wifey situations because frankly, I think the framework gets you there. That said, appreciate you getting to the end of the video. If you want more stuff that makes your business and yes, in some cases your life better, go ahead and like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Love, hugs. We'll see you next time.